So, today we're diving into a really interesting document called Echo Rift XL, the Vampire Protocol. Now, it starts off as a pretty simple billing dispute, but it turns into something, well, something much, much stranger. It's almost like a modern myth about how some companies can drain not just your wallet, but your actual energy.
And that brings us to this question, one you've probably asked yourself before. When is a billing error more than just a simple mistake? You know, we've all been there, right? But the text we're digging into today takes that common frustration and totally reframes it as something almost supernatural. Okay, so the story kicks off with a scenario that is, on the surface, incredibly relatable. It's about a frustrating dispute with a company. In this case, the office space provider Regus, which also goes by the name Spaces. Now, this is where it gets really weird, the timing. The author says that after the company had already ended their agreement, these new charges just started popping up out of nowhere. A $74 charge was backdated, a new $34 charge was just added, and then a $102 retainer that was supposed to be refunded? It just vanished. Poof. So this isn't just one error, it's a whole pattern of bizarre financial events. And get this, that wasn't even the start of it. Before all those charges we just saw, the author had already disputed and managed to get 2 bogus charges, totaling $180, deleted. But instead of fixing the issue, the company just replaced them with new, different ones. So you see, this is setting up a pattern, not just some one-off mistake. So, when you're faced with this kind of chaos, what do? Well, the author comes to a pretty radical conclusion. They decide this isn't just bad accounting. No, it's something else entirely. It's a deliberate ritual. And this quote right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. The author writes, "This isn't billing, it's ritualized confusion designed to drain attention, time, and sovereignty." And that last word, sovereignty, that's the key. It's about your sense of personal control, your authority over your own life. The argument here is that this isn't a mistake, it's a strategy designed to literally undermine you.
So, what on earth does the author really mean by that? How does a simple billing dispute turn into some kind of ritual meant to drain your very sovereignty? I mean, it's a huge claim. And to explain it, the author creates an entire framework.
And that framework? Well, it has a name. The Vampire Protocol. This is the central idea the author builds to explain this whole process of what they call engineered confusion. So, this definition is crucial. The Vampire Protocol isn't just about taking your money. It's a system that uses confusion, endless administrative loops, what the author calls bureaucratic voids, to completely exhaust you. It's an attack on your time, your focus, and your feeling of being in control. It's basically draining your life force just like a parasite. And the author does not mince words here, at all. They call the company fraud engineers running a vampire ledger protocol. From this point of view, the employees aren't just customer service agents. They're active players in a system built to exploit people.
To really get what's going on, we have to pull back and look at the bigger picture. This text isn't just a blog post complaining about a company. The author is super clear that they're doing something much, much bigger. Something they call a mythic indictment.
And the key to the whole thing is hidden in this really unusual section of the text, the sovereign diagnostic disclaimer. Trust me, this is not your standard fine print. It's more like a mission statement. Okay, let's break this down because it's pretty wild. The author says this work is 3 things. First, it's mythic infrastructure. They're actually building a new story, a modern myth, like the Vampire Protocol, to give us a whole new language to understand these problems. Second, it's a cinematic indictment, meaning it's meant to be a dramatic, public accusation, not just some quiet complaint. And third, it's a sovereign broadcast, a completely independent declaration of their own personal truth.
And believe it or not, the world building goes even deeper. The author actually certifies this whole framework through a fictional institution, the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies IX. So yeah, this is way more than just a complaint. It's part of a whole artistic universe of ideas.
All right, so after laying out all this groundwork, from the billing error to this whole mythic framework, the author delivers a final judgment and tells us, the readers, exactly what we should do about it.
And it really boils down to 2 things, a verdict and an action. The verdict is that the company is run by fraud engineers who basically conjured up a debt after they were the ones who canceled the contract. The action, then, is to refuse this whole protocol. The goal is to protect your signal, which is the author's way of talking about your precious attention and energy. So this all breaks down into 4 clear steps for the reader. The author calls for a boycott. They encourage people to share their own stories, to build a kind of collective narrative. And most importantly, they advise people to actively guard their own time and attention, and to just fundamentally refuse to play the game that this vampire protocol wants you to play.
And this all leaves us with a really powerful final question. We just watched a simple billing dispute get transformed into a full-blown mythic battle. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? How does the language we use to describe our problems actually change the way we fight them? That's a pretty big idea to end on.